A vision can never be the end destination because we are in going concerns. Vision can only be a time bound milestone upon reaching which you have to redefine yourself and move to the next milestone. So look at your vision as a milestone and focus on that. Power of one.
We have the pleasure of welcoming Adil Malia to our interview series. I'm Vanessa Rose from the peopleHum team. Let's begin with just a quick introduction of peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end one-view integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Codio Award for HCM that is specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and the video channel, which receives upwards of 200,000 visitors a year and publish around 2 interviews with well-known names globally every month. And now for our guest, Adil Malia is a chief executive at the firm. He is a human resource professional with a wide range of experience in people management, change management, and leadership. He has helped and coached leaders around the globe. He has worked in senior management and board roles in diverse industries like manufacturing, services, FMCG, infrastructure, and retail. A personality who started his career at the young age of 19, he has a lot of wisdom from experience that will surely be of great use to our audience. Welcome, Adil. We're thrilled to have you today.
Thank you so much, Sumit. So sweet of you to have wanted to interview me.
Thank you. So, the first question I have for you, Adil. You've
Sure.
had quite a journey in your work life. Could you tell us a little bit about it and what brought you to this amazing place you are in right now?
Well, thank you. If I make a pretension that I really knew upfront when I started as to where I was going to end up, or I've still not ended up, of course, but where I was going to reach, I think that would be a lie. Because in my life, and I come from a very middle class family, and my father really could afford my education up to a certain point, and then he had left it all on to us to decide what we wanted to do in life. If I look back, and I'm just trying to look back as you asked me this question, maybe at 19 when I started my career, I was as confused as what another 19-year-old boy would have been. So for me to say that no, life seemed very clear and I could see it very clearly as to what I wanted to achieve, that's not the fact. So I was very confused. But if I look back that from that confusion to this clarity which I have got now, where I've reached, what are some of the things that were consistently present throughout was from that point I knew two things. I was aware of my strengths. So very clearly I knew that my ability to work very hard, I knew for sure I could work very hard. I also knew throughout my school and my college days that my communication skills were good because people had told me that I could communicate well. People also had told me that my relational skills were very well, so I could build social relationships with people very well, and I could transact with people. So consistently 3 or 4 domains I knew which were my strength, but that did not give me any clarity about what I wanted to do. I knew I could communicate well. I knew I could work very hard when I wanted to work very hard. I knew I could socially interact, and I also knew that I loved working with people. So with this confusion, of course, I started looking out for what I should be doing. I found a job as a commercial apprentice, a guy who has not done graduation. I got to work as a commercial apprentice in this company called Godrej, and I started doing my law, and then I moved into the legal department. As I moved into the legal department of Godrej, at some point of time, I was handling labor laws. And I realized that when I was working with the unions, that actually there were one too many issues that I could help the union to resolve by merely sitting together, talking to people, negotiating with them, explaining to them the reality of the situation. And if we would have given the route, or we would have decided to take the legal route, most of these problems which we found solved would ideally not have been solved. They would have gone into long drawn court cases, and I don't know, God knows when it would have got resolved. So at that point of time, I said that I wanted to do something with people, and that was not necessarily law, by which time, of course, I had done my legal graduation and had got a rank in the university. So there was a pressure from the family to go in areas of law, but my heart and my desire was telling me that I wanted to do something with people. And therefore, I stumbled across this program at the Tata Institute, which of course I applied. I had not known of Tata Institute. I applied. I somehow was lucky that I got admitted because the admission exams are very, very tough out there in those days at least. Now also I understand so. And then I completed my program. So whilst I did begin with confusion, uh, the desire to succeed was always very there. And I would say that, you have to adopt this ability to take judgments. Things are not going to be clear at any point of time. You have to learn to take decision up to a point that you can see from the window that you are at right now or wherever you are. As far as what you can see, maybe you can take a judgmental call on that. Learn to be comfortable with the ambiguity. Keep scanning around for what are the alternatives which are in line with what you really want to do. Take decisions fast, work hard, and slowly you will find that if you're seriously wanting to be a learner all your life in whatever you are doing, and if you're willing to take bold decisions about your life, well, I was coming from middle class family and I couldn't even afford to pay education for 2 full years of studies at Tata Institute. So actually, I had to work and earn my money so that then I could sponsor my education at Tata Institute by myself. So all of these things come provided you have your commitment, provided you have your passion to succeed, provided you know your strengths well and you're not scared of ambiguity. So if you really want to summarize, this is what I would say is the summary of where I am today. Does it make sense?
Yes, yes, it does. That's really interesting. So you identified your strengths and you worked on it.
You don't identify your strength. I think over a period of time, these strengths show their heads at some point of time or the other in your life. So I was very good in debating. I was very good in elocution. I had won the national elocution competition, so it had in a way indicated that I was able to communicate effectively in large groups of people. So these kinds of evidences of your strengths, they show up at different points of time. You need to acknowledge the presence of this and try to do something which your passion makes you do. So
Hmm.
collect all your strengths together, identify your passion, and move in the direction of what you want to do with your passion. And I'm sure that success is something that will come and kiss you gently on your head.
Yeah, that is so true. So moving on to the next question. What are the typical issues faced by organizations looking for a business turnaround or massive transformation?
So, when businesses are looking for transformation, they believe that someone has got a magical wand. They are looking out for these kind of mantras where, and let me tell you, no one has got this magical dust, which early in the morning, if you sprinkle at the footsteps of the office building, abracadabra, some change will happen and transformation is going to, next day morning as you come out, the business will be transformed because you sprinkled those magical dust seeds around the company. So there are no such magical dust seeds. Transformation is an outcome, number one, of very clear commitment at the top. So the top management of the organization should be very, very clear in its mind that it wants to move to that direction. If the top management or the ownership of the enterprise is not committed or is not willing to sponsor that transformation, I promise you can break your head against the wall. You could work X number of extra hours to bring that transformation. You could have communicated it till your heart runs out, till your lungs run out of breath, but you will never be able to lead that transformation. So, number one, top management transformation is very critical. Number two is very important is the communication generally does not flow. Why are we changing? Why are we wanting this transformation? What is making the company move from point A to point B? Why does the company want to do things differently than what it was doing earlier? That messaging should be done consistently and continuously in the organization. Most leaders tend to leave this communication to forces of nature. They believe that there is some magical thing happening somewhere in the sky which will make the people who are undergoing change in your enterprise realize that this company is making this change for the following reasons. And ultimately, the employees don't know why the organization is changing versus the leadership is driving towards a certain goal. And this disconnect is something that will number one come in majorly in the way of executing the change that you want to bring in, and secondly will actually create an antagonistic feeling if the people who are supposed to execute the change are not themselves bought into the journey of change, and that is very important. So communication is very important. Connection is very important. People need to understand the strategy and understand their own role as to how is their role connected to the strategy of the enterprise. So unless it is connected, if you know the classical story of the bricklayer, if the bricklayer is told that he's only laying bricks, he will not really feel very connected to the journey. But when he understands, or he's made to understand that actually he is laying bricks to build a church which is in the service of God, then his connection to the whole thing is very, very big. So it is necessary that employees who are working at the shop floor level, or employees who are working in the enterprise, or the army of the organization which is bringing the transformation, they need to be connected directly at each individual level to the larger purpose. And then they should feel extremely engaged with the journey. It should not believe that, oh, you are getting your money, you take your money and you go away. People should feel emotionally engaged with the journey, and then the transformation and the chances of that transformation succeeding is very high. Motivation has to be high. So there are too many elements which are involved in it. Most importantly, that execution of these changes to become successful, to execute that, you require a very a scorecard, a strong scorecard. People need to have bought into that scorecard. It is not that the top management has told them that this is what you will drive. They should themselves agree that these are the scorecards they would want to live by, and there has to be a strong motivation, monetary and non-monetary, to make the guy work. At the same time, presence of a reward and punishment mechanism which makes him succeed, realize, and coach that he needs to move, or else he has to ship himself out, because no one has got endless time in the process of transformation. Either people perform well. If they can't perform well, they are coached. If they can't be coached at some point of time, there are no love stories. You need to exit those guys and get the new guys with the right skill sets to be able to deliver to the transformation journey. And this is what I believe. Many factors into it, but this is what I feel. If I was to give you a gist of the masterclass of it, would cover some of these points.
That is such an impactful answer. The entire organization has to be focused on goal, be in an alignment of the organization's goals.
Yeah, because if this alignment is not there, and if transformation is a by the way agenda, it will never succeed. Transformation has to be the prime agenda that the organization has to undertake. Therefore, it has to define that goal very, very clear.
Yeah.
And also important is to understand, and most people, you know what, in today's world, this entire belief about vision and all of that, sometimes when you read this literature and ask leaders about vision, you realize that there is so much of folly in their understanding of what is vision. A vision can never be the end destination, because we are in going concerns. Vision can only be a time bound milestone upon reaching which you have to redefine yourself and move to the next milestone. So look at your vision as a milestone and focus on that. Power of one. Focus on that. Don't look at your transformational journey as a by the way journey. We are doing 5 things amongst which one is transformation. Then it doesn't work. That's what my feeling is.
Yeah, vision is not an end destination. That is so true.
It's a continuous destination. It's a milestone. It's a time bound milestone which you believe in this time I should have reached this milestone, upon reaching which you have to redefine yourself. Because we cannot see ahead so well. Today, for example, the kind of situation that you and I are facing, the globe is facing, in fact, can anyone really predict as to what is going to happen beyond 3 years? So, what vision are you going to define? Now, yours is a going concern which has a lifelong existence, and you are unable to see from your window beyond 3 years' time. Therefore, what you can see through to the farthest can only be a milestone in the journey. Use that as a milestone rather than being ambiguous. Use that as a milestone, and upon reaching that destination, keep moving on.
So true. Thank you for that. So, in your experience as a human resource professional, what are the main areas you think organizations are going wrong in having a effective employee engagement strategy?
So, number one is, frankly, between you and me, there are a few motherlies and few large statements which companies keep talking about without meaning, and they go genuinely wrong in some of these. So, on the one hand, every organization will talk about things like people are our most valuable resources. We believe in inclusivity. We believe in innovation. We have a very flexible culture. And these kind of motherlies, they keep uttering, and they, at some point of time, without testing out whether the culture and the organization at the ground level is actually believing in some of these guidelines or not, they start working on it to soon realize that the actual organizational practices are not matching that what they have been saying. So whilst they may say that people are the most important resources, say for example, what are the kind of situations and what are our clients asking at this point of time? They are saying, can we cut people out? Can we stop paying salary? Can we take the leaves and adjust leaves because they have not been coming to work? Now here is people, and you have been saying all along that Vasudeva Kutumba, we are part of one large family. People are our most important resources. Then how come in the family with the resources which are your such critical resources, the first element of thought you have is about not thinking of them as a part of the family? So these motherlies, which they don't really, they talk about engagement, they don't believe in engagement. Communications is done on a need to know basis, and people are constantly looking out because information is a human need. It is as much a critical need for people as food and thirst is, and therefore, organizations which pass on the company information to employees only on a need to know basis seem to be missing the bus that information about the company leads to engagement, because information is a living and a growing need of a learning organization, and people need that information. Whether they need it or not from a work related point of view is a different story, but for their existence and their identity, they need that information. They talk about flexible cultures, but if you will see, most cultures in most organizations are rigid cultures. Rigidity is the prime factor around which cultures get solidified. And therefore, certain beliefs that the leaders believe, certain ways in which organization has been functioning over a historical period of time become rigid beliefs, become the rigid ways of life in that organization. When any new person comes and says that I have another way of doing it, I want a different way of trying to attack this problem, even if that same problem done in the old way was not giving results. And if a new leader is mandated to solve the problem and he says, let's do it differently, the entire culture of the organization consolidates to fight that distance because they believe this is different than the culture that we have been used to. This is different than the way we are used to doing it. So culture, unfortunately, at the ground level, is defined by rigidities, and alienation happens to that leader who tries to bring in new ways of doing it. And these are some of the reasons that engagement doesn't happen. We also love to throw money at a problem. And whenever there are employees who want to go away, or whenever there are good talent which is getting away, we try to throw money at a problem. And we believe that whether I'm engaging you or I'm not engaging you, I am giving you money so you stay on. But what leaders and organizations tend to forget, that money never leads to engagement. Throw money at a problem, and I promise you, my experience tells me the problem will remain, but your money will go away. And that is one of the most important things. Also, the motherlies that most organizations tend to follow, they say that we focus on your career, we do this, we do that. Actually, most companies tend to practice last day career management programs. The career of the guy is spoken on the last day after he submits the resignation, and suddenly the guy who has resigned becomes the most critical member of the organization. So if organizations say one set of things and then they tend to practice different sets of things, naturally the engagement, the real engagement of the people is not there. Superficial engagement, because people do not have another job, they are working with you in the organization. Naturally, they keep giving you those superficial feedbacks that, oh, they are all very happy. Any of these employee surveys that most companies undertake to show whether level of engagement is high or low, even the high engagement companies, at times, if you will correlate the attrition data, will indicate that on the one end they are saying they are highly engaged, on the other end their attrition levels are also very high. to show that if they get other jobs, they will move away. But before moving away, till they are in the company, they'll say they're all very happy with it. So this is the kind of engagement which will come in the way. Engagement is about authentic trust. Simple. Do you have authentic trust in your employees? And do your employees have authentic trust in you? Between what they do, they say, and what they tell, there has to be an alignment. And it is that alignment of authenticity and trust which will keep people moving. And that's what my submission is.
So the rigidity that we were talking about, do you think it is more it impacts the millennials of this generation now? Because millennials are a lot used to, following rules and working in a particular way.
So millennials is another story that we are trying to create for themselves. My experience of running with millennials, I'm so happy getting engaged with the millennials. They are not far more different, right? Some of us to make business out of our consultancies try to do this macro classifications between, oh, these guys are, demons in the making. They think differently. It is like, it's the same thing like our culture that we are talking about. We are used to working in a certain way, and we believe that's the only way in which work can happen.
Hmm.
And now we are so rigid about it that the new sets of people who have been brought up, nurtured, and engaged in a different environment, in a digital technology, in the way the life is different now from the way the life it was for us, naturally the output is different. Their percepts about money, their percepts about employment, their percept about happiness, their percept, and some of these percepts are actually right the way they see it, and it was wrong the way we used to see it. So naturally, some of these things are different. Everything that is different is not necessarily bad. For all you know, we ideally should have been doing it the way they are thinking about. Look, what have we done to our planet? Look, what has our generation, what have you and I done to leave as inheritance of this beautiful planet that we got and it took trusty charge of? What have we done to our planet that we are giving them? When you go and talk to the millennials, their concern about environment, their concern about the planet is so much more higher. So it is not true that just because they are thinking differently, they pose a challenge. They pose a challenge to you because you are rigid. We are rigid in our percepts. We are rigid about the way we want them to do it exactly the way we do it, and therefore we would get nothing other than a photocopy of the universe as it stands today. It will not show development. It will not show any progress.
Yeah, that's right. You also see,
I don't know if you agree to it, but these are some of my thoughts.
yeah, it makes so much sense. So, do you also think technology can help us in improving engagement in an organization?
Technology will help in every possible way. Say, for example, today, uh, oftentimes in absence of technology, we are taking so many of our decisions on gut feel basis. All right, we do not have data, right? We do not have ability to accurately measure things. We do not have ability to quickly come to a conclusion. What are the insights of our people? Technology, by virtue of its speed and ability to get into the depth, will be able to give you much more authentic data on the basis of which you would be able to plan. And therefore, technology will certainly lead to telling you where is the gap which you need to engage in far more meaningful.
Mhm.
And that's what I believe people should do.
How do you think leaders can ensure that their feedback translates into impact?
By executing it. If leaders have got opinions, if leaders have got views, if leaders believe in something, but they don't convert it into action, the impact of that speech is going to have a short lived life.
Mm.
If I keep telling you that you are the most important resource, but the impact of my belief or impact of my saying that does not convert itself, there is no impact. So impact is actually a measurement of the grassroots level execution of what you say and what you believe. When you execute that where the rubber hits the road, that is where the impact is measured. So you say one thing, in fact, my experience tells me that most organizations tend to suffer from what we call organizational schizophrenia.
Mm.
Now, you've heard the word schizophrenia, and that much of psychology you'll be able to understand. Actually, when people say and do different things, they say one thing and they do different things, it is indicative of, in a way, a schizophrenic behavior. Organizations make these fantastic vision statements and value statements, one of which is, for example, to say we are very customer driven organization. Fantastic. You are customer responsive organization. When a poor employee comes to the HR department just to find out how many days leave balance does he have into his account, the first day he will be thrown out. Second day he will be told that the right person is not available. Third day he will be told, can you come after 12 o'clock? Boss has called us for a meeting. Then he will be told something else. Now he looks at the wall hanging which says the vision of the company is to be customer centric. And then he collates it with the experience he gets when he is at the grassroots level asking for a simple thing like his leave balance. And that is where he gets into a schizophrenic mode to say, what is our organization? Now, sequence and collection of these behaviors with a schizophrenic between what the organization says and what the organization does leads to a certain gap. And that is the gap of disengagement, which disengages people from believing what the organization is. And if people in the organization do not believe the organization, do not have trust. And as I told you, to me, engagement is all about authenticity and trust. So therefore, they say, is this organization authentic about what it is saying? Can I trust this organization? And if the behaviors are showing that no, I cannot trust them, they are not authentic about what they are saying because they are doing something totally different, then naturally people will get, and the impact will be less.
Yeah. That's like they say, actions speak louder than words here.
Actions have to speak. In fact, don't let your words be there. Let your actions become your words.
Yeah, they matter more. What is the best way to manage feedback in a distributed workforce, especially in today's scenario?
See, look, I think remote working or consolidated working is never really the most important thing. If you really know what you want from people, if you are very clear in your mind what you want people to deliver to you, if you have scorecardized them, if you have engaged your people in design thinking where they are involved in designing the way forward processes, if they are committed, if they know their goals, then measuring their performance is not a matter of which location you are operating from.
Yeah.
So this is a very classical and I would say a very Harappa and Mohenjo-daro way of measuring performance that you're talking about, that you have to be in a physical location, sitting across the table with a boss, with a certain form, which is a pink colored form on which you are saying, okay, this is what I told you to deliver in the beginning, this is what you have delivered. This fellow says, I agree. So that kind of a very traditional performance management system is a very Mohenjo-daro relic that we have continued in our contemporary management world. Modern day management is now questioning the factor that do we really need review? Because if the person is delivering to you what he's supposed to deliver, then how many hours in a day, which location he is operating from are all immaterial facts. Why is it important that you want the man even in when there is a lockdown? There are HR managers I know, and people have complained about that to me, that they are checking out whether we have clocked in 9 hours or not from our home by ensuring that the systems are connected to the server for 9 hours. Now, my question is, will you be very happy that he's logged in for 12 hours instead of 9? And would you be unhappy if he has logged in for only 3 hours out of 9? If the guy who has logged in for 3 hours has delivered far more value to you than the guy who logged in for 12 hours? So to me, this whole classic way in which performance is seen, performance is reviewed, traditional way, the classical industrial revolution way of looking at performances is a practice and a process of the bygone era. The new era does not believe in it. The new era does not even need it. And therefore, organizations in the process of design and in the process of rethinking the business designs will have to chalk out multiple other ways to measure impact and see that it is impact and delivery that matters, not physical presence or time that matters. You ask for time from a person and you will get time back. You ask for responsible delivery of value, you will get responsible delivery of value. Decide for yourself what do you want.
That is true, but I think many organizations in India are still yet to accept this concept of remote working.
Bad luck for them.
Yeah.
Bad luck for them. Arbitrage is soon going to happen where they will lose good talent. Good talent will erode them. average talent which is not getting job elsewhere, or bad talent which they have not been able to get rid of, will continue in their organizations. You can sit with them in your organizations and keep filling up those performance review forms, as many as you want. Call me to design, and I will design some 500 such Mohenjo-daro practices for you. But that will not deliver. Arbitrage happens in an organization where good talent will move out because it sees no career happening out of these kinds of traditional and old ways in which performances are measured. If you are delivering value and the organization is measuring and reviewing only time, then you as a performer will certainly not feel engaged and will believe that my career is not moving in the right direction. And therefore, arbitrage of talent is a natural outcome of these traditional practices being continued in a generation, era, and age where it has no acceptance.
Yeah. And it all comes down to trust again. The employee is not feeling trusted enough.
Finally, trust.
Yeah.
Because do I trust you with my career? I don't. Why? Because you are measuring time when I am delivering value. You are seeing things which are not good for the organization and valuing that. You are reinforcing and rewarding people who are working long number of hours, even if they are not delivering, versus punishing people who are working for lesser number of hours, even if they are delivering greater value. Now look at this dichotomy. How do I trust your organization to build my career in that situation?
Yeah.
You are reinforcing mediocrity. That is the problem.
And it's the organization's fault.
Yeah, there is no organization point. Organization leadership has to be made aware of it. I'm sure that organization which is matured or organization which is into business doesn't find it far more difficult to understand if it is explained in the right way.
Mhm.
Actually, the professional leadership has to take it upon themselves to sit with the ownership, to sit with the boards and explain to them why these traditional ways should now give away and new ways of looking at things should be brought in.
That was really nice. Adil, do you have any more thoughts you'd like to share with our audience?
I have been in the domain for the longest period of time. You ask me any questions and I can comment on it. It is like saying that, by the way, is there something in the galaxy you would like to comment on? Well, there are a
No.
zillion things you don't have the time.
Yeah, any specific important message you'd like to share? Something like that.
My most important message for all the people, and this is for the people, we are all talking about professional excellence. My message is very simple. First, learn to be a good human being. If you really want to succeed, first, learn to be a good human being. If you are a good human being, you'll become a good husband, you'll become a good son, you'll become a good brother, you will become a good whatever you are doing. You'll become a good professional, you will also become a good leader. So, therefore, whilst competence and all of that is certainly very required in the changing environment, what is critical is the superimposition of goodness. Your good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. Be a good human being, and everything else will fall in line.
Yeah.
And that is the message to all the professionals.
That is, goodness is at its core in the end.
Let goodness and happiness be your goal. Let organization go into what in OD we say organizational flourish. Now, happiness is a very limited function, but what organizations today are looking out for what we call organizational flourish. So let goodness be the purpose, let happiness be the target, let flourish be the end value goal of your enterprise.
Wonderful. This was such an insightful and a power packed conversation, Adil. I really appreciate you sharing your time and your views with us. It has been a learning experience for me, and
Thank
I'm sure
you.
you had a good time too.
And I wish you good luck.
Yeah.
And I wish you good times. And I wish you become happy and flourish with your organization.
You too, Adil.
You too.
Take
Take
care.
care.
Goodbye.